All right, Obey. Welcome to week one. This is week one's reflection. This video is a short devotional. It's meant to prime each of us to be thinking and praying and discerning actively through the week so that when we get to next Tuesday, February 10th, we all come ready to engage in a meaningful discussion and really get into everything that God intends for us to unpack as we invest our time, our efforts, our energy together over the next 10 weeks, all for His glory. So today's reflection, or this week's reflection, is from Matthew chapter 25. I'm going to read to you the parable of the talents. This goes from verse 14 all the way to verse 30. And this is Jesus teaching. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each of them according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also, who had the 2 talents, came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you can have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gather where I scattered no seed? Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
That's a great chapter. Amazing and quite harsh. Yeah. So this whole chapter is all about stewardship. When the master came back, he didn't complain about, hey, your return could have been higher. He rejoiced in the fact that the first 2 went out, invested those talents, were good stewards of them, and then came back with a return. And I think that for us, it's so important to be working on, like, it's not always about the result. It's about being that posture of our heart to be willing to take those talents and put them into the market, whatever they are. And I think talent is a good, like, it could be, obviously there's financial, that's the easiest one to identify, but then we have like our gifts. What gifts were we born with? What gifts have we sharpened and honed in our lifetime? The other thing is our time. I think that's probably our most valuable resource, is our time. And as long as we're breathing, we have time. We don't know how much we have, but in the moment we have an obligation to steward that time. So those are, like, talents can be any kind of resource, anywhere in the spectrum of what resources do we have in our hands currently that we can put to work and try and grow the kingdom of God, and ask the Lord and the Holy Spirit, say, show me what are you calling me to right now? What are you asking me to? And then take steps in that direction.
The Master has given everyone an amount of resource, each according to his ability. So each of us, and that's similar to in Romans, like each according to the faith that we've been given.
Yeah.
Like we have been resourced by the master. And then he goes away and we don't know when he's coming back. Like these servants don't have a timeline for when he's to return. He could return tomorrow. He could return in 20 years. You could die before he returns. It could be any of these things. And that's very much how it is for us. We don't know how long we have. We don't know how long until Jesus comes back. But the behavior of the two servants that did a good job was at once they went and traded with them at once. So almost as if, well, what if he comes back tomorrow? I better get this I better get it into action.
Yeah.
They made their moves immediately. And they're trading with them. They're doing business. They are working out their return in the marketplace. And so there is an active, intentional, and thoughtful allocation of those resources that the people are making.
Yeah.
And it's immediate. They're doing it right away.
And the at once part, I think is so like, when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, it's 2 words, but it's so powerful because it talks about like at once means they weren't deliberating. They weren't all procrastinating or deliberating.
Or strategizing.
Like, okay, well, when the weather's nice, I'm going to go. Or when this happens, I'm going to go.
At my convenience, I'll
They
go to
went
the
at
market.
once. And I think that a lot of times I find in my walk with God, how that kind of crosses over with my business and my vocation is he like it's taken that step and at once and move, and we like most likely we won't have all the answers. And we've talked about like that thy word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. The lamp to your feet only lights up 1, maybe 2 steps in front.
Yeah.
And this is where we really activate our faith to go at once without knowing everything, without knowing exactly how it's going to land or what's going to happen in the next election or without knowing all these things, go and and steward what you've been given. And then I think that's when we start looking at like you want to be.
Well, I think you want to be rewarded. Like I sometimes we avoid this thought, but like where we do want to be rewarded by our Father, and I think like this blessing that the Master gives is, well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. So I'm going to give you more to steward. Now enter into the joy of your master. Like that is, I mean, that's the promised land. Like that's us being in the joy of the Father and just being given that reward of fellowship with Him and connection with Him is ultimately all of our objectives, much more so than the material gain. It's not, and critically, it's not actually presented as material gain. It's material stewardship.
Yes.
It's more to steward.
Yeah.
The contrast there with the sort of, for lack of a better term, harshness that the master deals with the lazy, the wicked and slothful servant should be a huge flag for us. We see this in this generous blessing and this wonderful invitation given to the first 2 servants, and then we see the third one being cast out into the darkness. And so the juxtaposition between those 2 roles should pique all of our senses up a little bit and force us to ask the question like, okay, well, what side of that equation do I want to be on? As I steward the resources that God has given to me confidently, am I going to be able to do that with an anticipation of His reward? Or am I acting out of fear? Am I burying the resources I've been given? Am I squandering my talents? Am I wasting the time that I have?
Yeah.
Am I holding back from a situation that I feel the conviction of the Spirit to guiding me towards? Yeah. Out of fear of some unknown consequence, some ambiguous future consequence. And I think that is the invitation that we're asking you each to reflect on this week is.
And just to bring one point before I kind of go through the reflections is don't use like that language for the third servant was so harsh. But we have to understand that all this is done under the umbrella of grace. That third servant chose to bury that talent for a long period of time. He chose every day after to continue to leave that in the ground. And I think that, so to bring in an element of grace is that it's not this thing where it's like performance. Oh, I didn't do everything I could have today. I'm going to be gnashing my, be with the gnashing of teeth. Like there is an element of grace, but it's that consistency. Am I consistently bearing? And so I think that leads right into what's our reflection. So something to be reflecting on the next week as we get ready for our Tuesday night meeting is two things. One, where is there a talent that I've been given, any kind of resource that I feel that I've been stewarding well, and that I would hear that report, well done, my good and faithful servant. And then where's one that in your heart that there's an area that God's been maybe calling you to more, calling you to deeper, and you have chosen out of fear or out of complacency or something to leave that buried. And I think if we can kind of think on those two things over the next week and reflect on them, we'll have a great discussion on Tuesday night.
Perfect. Looking forward to getting this group off the ground with each of you. May God bless you and keep you this week, and looking forward to a great discussion on Tuesday.